Coming up on This Week in NASCAR.
They came to Atlanta on a mission. Casey Kane gets it done.
25 down, 1 to go to decide the 2009 Chase Contenders. With a record 11 drivers on the bubble, it'll all go down under the lights at Richmond.
It all comes down to one day, one race, one final chance.
Plus, in hot laps, we've got an idea to tweak the chase. Also, we'll talk engine changes in the Sprint Cup Series. The last word on Atlanta and the first word on Richmond. Next on Twin. This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico. Hi, everybody. Glad you're with us. Hope you're having a great Labor Day weekend. I'm all jacked up because Greg Biffle and Michael Waltrip are here. And, guys, we're down to one race to go. If I'm Greg? Jacked up, how about Greg?
I'm not feeling very good. I'm still a little stressed out, especially after that weekend. You know, the race last night. It was just a lot of pressure. We didn't run very good in the beginning. Got running really good at the end. Couple missed opportunities right at the end. Mark Martin spun his tires on the restart and cost us, probably 2 or 3 spots.
But, Greg, I ran with you early in the race, and you took your car and went forward with it. You got to be proud of your team.
Oh.
I mean, you were teetering on disaster, and you went and ran toward the front.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really teetering on disaster, and the guys did a great job. We're excited to have Red Cross in the car this weekend, and the pit crew just did a fantastic job. I mean, they adjusted on the car. I told them what it needed. They were pulling shims out of the front packers and making adjustments, and they got the thing going.
And you said they were pulling shims out of the front packers. I got nervous. I didn't know where you were going with that.
Yep.
Well, you a little nervous that he might.
Yeah, he could get a little crazy with it.
Might get a little crazy. MW55. Well, the headline was Casey Kane pulls out a clutch win, his second win of 2009, and more importantly, he moves up in the point standings from 11th to 6th. Michael, Greg touched on it briefly, describe the pressure that somebody like Casey Kane, not just Casey, but that entire team.
Well, David Rudiman is 15th in the points. He's just outside. He doesn't have any pressure. He just goes and races. Did a great job. Came home 4th in the Aaron's car last night. That was awesome. But if you're anywhere from 7th to 13th, then you just know you got to do everything just right. And watching guys like Matt Kenseth struggle early in the race and then be able to pull his stuff together and get up there at the end. Then Casey Kane, knowing that, Steve, the big deal is one mistake. Like Clint Boyer, he didn't have a good day, made a mistake, lost a lap. There went his chase. That's how quick, we're sideways anyway. That's how quick it can happen. And you said MW55 because I Twittered last week, and the fans loved it. So I'm going to do it again.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
They did.
But the same thing is Kyle was on the other end of that, the negative end. He was up front leading, ran in the top 5 the whole night, and then I don't know what happened to his car, but he fell back.
He did, and let me tell you how sensitive these cars are. I struggled. I caught him and was going to pass him when that last caution came out, and he got the free pass and got himself back into position to still contend for this chase. But that's what's so intense about these cars. Every time you come to pit road, you're almost afraid to tell them to do anything.
I know.
If you're running good, you're like, I'm a little loose, and you might just as a driver say, I'm okay, because you don't know how tight that line is and how narrow it is. As Larry Mack likes to say, you're walking on a razor's edge.
That's exactly what he says.
I watch a lot of speed, y'all.
Wow.
You do. Well, we knew going into the race that Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, and Jimmy Johnson were locked in. Now Denny Hamlin is. But take a look at the rest of the standings. 5th through 14th separated by just 122 points.
It's amazing, and don't take anything for granted. Whether you're all the way up there where Casey Kane is, or certainly where Greg is, anything a flat tire any sort of car that just won't handle, and you'll find yourself on the outside looking in. And that's stiff competition. Vickers has been good, especially recently, and of course Kyle's liable to go crazy at Richmond and lead every lap. So you just never know. You can't take anything for granted.
We're going to go over the scenarios for the individual drivers later on. Greg's magic number, I think you need to finish 11th or better. If you finish 11th or better, you are locked.
That's great.
Easier said than done, though,
Tell
right?
everybody how hard that is to do.
That's very hard. That's very hard. It sounds easy.
Yes.
Yeah. 11th, no big deal. You know, that sounds easy, but it's difficult to do.
All right, we'll talk about that coming up. Hey, if you want Casey Kane's picture from his big win in Atlanta, go to the speedtv.com site, click the show's tab at the top, go to the This Week in NASCAR page. You'll see a link at the bottom of the page to email us. Put 9 in the subject line, and you're entered to win. Be sure to put your shipping address in the email. The winner will be revealed next week. The Kyle Busch picture from Bristol is headed to Wisconsin. Well, right after this, Chad Canals didn't know what in the world was going on with the 48 car. We'll hear all the best scanner audio and radioactive. Plus, the race didn't start too well for the Roush guys, as Greg says. The 17 in the wall and the 99 to the garage. All the highlights coming up. Later, we'll dive into some hot topics. Does the chase need to be tweaked? We'll ask Michael and Greg about that coming up.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And brought to you in part by NASCAR Banking, only from Bank of America. Your debit card, your credit card, your driver. Learn more at a Bank of America Banking Center today.
During our broadcast of both practices on Saturday here on Speed from the Atlanta Motor Speedway, we heard drivers describe their cars as wicked, evil. Greg Biffle even described his car as driving crazy. Well, once the race started last night, things didn't get any better. Here's our radioactive scanner piece.
Radio, check 1, 2. 10-4, got you. Check 1, 2. I got you there. You got me okay? Got a copy. 10-4.
The green flag is out in Atlanta.
As they started getting tighter, they started slowing down considerably, so I think being loose is going to be key.
This track can be one of the most difficult tracks to get a hold of. It is so slick and treacherous.
I can't believe we're still hanging out up here. I am loose as a mother everywhere. Why does this thing kick loose? That's my problem. As soon as I land, it just bam, snaps out.
Matt Kenseth is in a lot of trouble right now. He is struggling.
I'm pedaling as hard as I can. This is a loose biatch. I can't hang on to it anymore, guys.
Trouble off of turn 4. Kurt Busch slammed the outside wall.
Something ain't right, guys. Yeah, just don't wreck that thing. It's an oil line or something. Coming to you now. Let's get a look at it, guys. Lift the hood.
And now we've got major problems for Brian Vickers, a possible broken axle.
It's broken the inside. We'll just keep our fingers crossed here, guys.
All right, how many laps is this race?
Got 122 more. Well, it's nighttime, so you shouldn't be ready to go to bed.
Ready to go to bed.
We need you for the next 122.
I'm good. I'm good.
The green flag is waving again at Atlanta.
If I overdrive it, I get run down. If I underdrive it, I get right down. What is going on here? You talking to me? Okay, so last run you were tight, and then it went loose. And now you're just loose, right? 10-4, I am dead loose.
This guy, Kevin Harvick, that is looking like the Kevin Harvick of old.
29's got that magic set, man. He's way faster than everybody.
That 29 is running the most unique line I've ever seen. It's weird. He's keeping it low like a damn Indy car.
Kevin Harvick, your leader. Here comes Casey Kane. He's locked door to door. Kane to the bottom of the speedway. Kevin Harvick in the middle groove. Casey Kane is the new leader.
Casey Kane gets it done and goes to victory lane.
This one's for you guys. That's a picture right there. You guys kicked ass tonight. Woo!
Well, that certainly is my favorite. And listen to that. It's a little bit of humor with Dale Jr. You know, everybody knows he's a night owl, so listen to that. And then Chad Canals. I mean, you got to feel for those guys with a broken axle. Jimmy's like, I don't know what's wrong with this thing. I can't drive it. And it's pretty amazing that they did, found out that it was a broken axle. So all kinds of stuff you can find out by listening to that radio.
Greg, it was amazing. Michael and I talked about this a little bit the cars coming off turn 4 were pointed at the infield. I have never seen race cars that loose.
Yeah, it's so hard to drive those cars there, and you know, it's been like that with this new car quite a bit, and Goodyear's done a good job trying to get tires on this thing that last, but these cars are just really, really loose at Atlanta, and you have to, like Michael said, you can get in and out of the window by just that much. I mean, a little adjustment, and the car's out of control.
And as Mike Joy likes to say, we had comers and goers all night long. Let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights. As we said, trouble for Matt Kenseth early. Michael just lap 15, and Matt Kenseth brushes the wall.
Well, and I just know exactly what he felt. He drove down in the corner, the thing got sideways, and he had to just follow it up the hill, and there's a wall up there. You eventually wind up in that wall. Everybody was doing this from the word go. And you know what was great, Steve? The finish was dramatic. There was a lot of cool racing to watch. So even though we weren't gripping the road, there was a lot of fun things to see.
Yeah. Jimmy Johnson said to Chad on the radio, on a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of loose, this car is a 15.
Yeah, it's real loose, and it will be with one axle, with a broken axle. It'll be hard to drive.
All right, let's move ahead now. The pole sitter, Martin Truex Jr., he actually laps the 17 of Matt Kenseth. Kenseth there in the 30th position. But Sam Hornish helps Kenseth. Hornish spins, bringing out the caution, and the 17 gets the lucky dog getting a lap back.
Now, if you ever want to see a guy that will try his best to drive one sideways, just watch Sam.
He'll do it.
Yeah. Hey, you know, the thing different about Atlanta last night, it was almost like clockwork. There was a caution flag, you know, every so often.
40 laps.
Right, and it would, you know, gave everybody a chance.
I believe it was either a ruptured oil cooler or the oil pan for the 99 sent him to the garage. He wound up finishing 36, 37. Jimmy Johnson right there next to him.
I would have to think it was an oil line or oil cooler, because it was the oil pan. I'm not sure they'd get it repaired, and I haven't heard yet what went wrong. But I thought the engine blew up. You know, we saw the smoke and
he actually hit some debris.
Okay, something must have cut up, probably an oil line or took the cooler out.
All right. Now, Dale Earnhardt Jr., you heard him. He is a night owl. He was able to be in contention for a while. He's passing David Rudiman and Marcus Ambrose.
That's my teammates he's roughing up there.
Man, I saw a lot of that where I was at last night. It was really, really tight.
Denny Hamlin in the 11 passes Jeff Gordon for the lead. Then Kevin Harvick passes Hamlin to take the top spot.
And Jeff said, I'm going to pass Denny back.
Now, Truex, who led a bunch of laps, over 60, he gets lapped by Harvick. And that's what I meant, comers and goers. Guys that were good at the beginning that dropped anchor, and then vice versa.
Yeah, it was amazing. And you know, it goes back to that thing that the track gets rubbered up, it gets slick. And if you're off a tiny bit, you just can't drive it, and you'll get lapped like that. I mean,
you know what the most interesting thing about that is, to me, we've heard so much about how identical these cars are, how the crews are in such a tight box because the cars are all just the same. Well, obviously, there's a lot of difference in the cars, especially last night. You saw adjustments made to cars that made them go crazy, and then you saw other people that just, Kevin Harvick, just steady all night long right there near the front. Same with Denny Hamlin. So the cars are race cars, and you're going to try to tune them. And like I said earlier, sometimes you can over-tune them.
I know watching it, there were several times they said that Harvick, the 29 team, didn't adjust the car at all.
Yeah, and when he went by me every time, I was like, I wouldn't adjust it either.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, it looks. He was driving like the spotter said. He was driving basically on the apron. But every other car I saw get down there and try that sideways. He just get down there and bounce right through the bumps. So great job with their shocks, their bump rubbers. They had something going on with that car that really liked the rough low line.
Well, coming up next after this week, what will Kurt Busch have to do to lock himself into the chase at Richmond? More highlights coming up. Ooh, leaves a mark. Plus, do you know the 5 drivers who have gotten their first career wins at Richmond? We'll take a look in just a bit. You're watching Twin. This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico. That's a nice sign. It's very visible.
And the whole studio is just, it just lights up. What a great job by Speed in our studio. We were in the garage for so long. Yeah. It feels real good to have this quality production.
Let's take a look at the laps led from Sunday night at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. A lot of guys trying to get just those 5 bonus points for leading a lap.
Yeah, and there was 4 of us that did that. I was one of them, and you know we're making sure we protect that 55 car in the top 35 in points. Obviously, it hadn't been a great year. We've got a pretty good cushion over 35th, but you never want to take anything for granted. We had a chance. We were the last car on the lead lap. Wanted to make some big adjustments to the Napa car. Decided to stay out and get those 5 points. Greg, you did the same thing, and it's tougher now to do that because when you restart behind everybody. The lap down cars are now in front of you because you didn't pit on your turn to pit. But there are occasions when you've just got to go for it and try to get those 5 points, and we both agreed last night was one of those.
And I did it later in the night, you know, a little bit later, so there was a lot of lap down cars that I had to race to get back by. So I was a little nervous at first, but we kept having those cautions.
What do you really glad you got those 5 points?
I'm really glad. I'll take 5 more if you don't mind.
It'll help Saturday night, won't it?
Do people understand like how much 3 points would mean to him right now? He didn't just have 3 points from somewhere. Somebody give me 3 points. That's what's so crazy.
One position.
Just give me something.
Yeah.
And he'll look back, you know, all week thinking, man, if we'd have done this or that, I wouldn't be in this position. But then when Saturday night's over, if Greg races in, like I expect he will, then he can breathe. But you won't breathe really until then.
No, I'm not. I'm going to hold my breath.
You are. You're tense. We can tell. But we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
All right. We said Jimmy Johnson was loose. He's going to spin off turn 2.
Green is still out.
Caution comes out in the pits.
He was over there by that wall pretty close.
He didn't hit it, though. Tony Stewart, his team misses a lug nut. He has to come back in.
He wound up
right behind me.
A little bit of trouble for a while, but he rallied pretty good like you did, Greg.
Casey Kane passed Kevin Harvick for the lead there. And, you know, it's amazing. Matt Kenseth worked his way back up into the top 10. We talked about one of the first highlights. He was running 30th, had hit the wall.
Run into the wall?
Yeah.
There was some great stories last night of guys that really were able to take their cars and fix them. And then there were also other guys that had a great car and messed it up.
And I mean, again, you know, this will give you an idea. I was running, you know, back there 28th to 30th, got lapped. We changed a 30,000 shim in the front of the car, and that got me from running there and able to drive all the way up into the top 10. So if you think about, you know, how much adjustment these cars need, that's how much I put wedge in. I'm like, nope, take that back out. Raise the track bar, nope, lower it back down.
30,000.
30,000 shim out of the front. And the way it was getting on the bump stops, it made it more even or biased it, and then the car started running. Really, really tight.
We're stacking pennies, aren't we?
Yes.
A penny's about 125 thousandths.
You're making that up.
No, that's about right.
I don't think I am. I was afraid to say it because I'm not sure I'm right or not.
You're pretty close.
Biffle says you are.
I think that's about right.
Yeah, Biffle says you are. Hey, we talked about Kurt Busch getting loose. Let's take a look at him again in the 2-car, all by himself. And now Reed Sorensen gets into him. He has nowhere to go.
Yeah, and that was bad circumstance because watch, he's going to get loose, and he's probably going to spin, but that thing was going to spin down in the infield.
Yeah.
And Reed
just like Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, like Jimmy Johnson, like Boyer does later.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for those two, they were side by side when he went crazy.
All right, let's hustle. We're getting behind here. On the pit stops, Jimmy Johnson breaks an axle. He's going to have to go to the garage. Now, Brian Vickers also breaks an axle. This is the Castrol Edge. A smart move of the race. It goes to the 83 bunch, guys. Amazing. They changed the axle on pit road without losing a lap.
I do not understand. I still don't know how they did that.
I'm not sure either. And what I'm wondering is how come 2 teams broke axles at Atlanta when there's not a lot of grip? How did 2 teams break axles? I mean, I would have to say there's something going on with those axles.
Yeah, maybe then, you know, in the past when we've seen people start breaking axles, the teams were like, oh, what are they doing?
Exactly.
How are they using those axles to help their car handle?
I can't speak for both teams, but I believe they said the first one dropped the jack, and when they hit the gas, that's how it snapped.
I mean, we do that every weekend, though, you know, and
rarely do you see multiple failures.
Yeah.
So it's a good question.
All right, let's move ahead now. Joey Logano, he's going to spin.
This is another example of just like Kurt Busch.
Ooh, Clint Boyer's able to sneak by.
Wow.
Juan Pablo Montoya had a spectacular night.
He did. He ran great all night. I mean, saw him up there in the top 5 constantly. I saw him leading. Of course, I was back there a ways, so.
There comes another guy.
Harvick passes Montoya. We saw that. 15 laps to go. Clint Boyer was lucky earlier, not so lucky there.
Well, and RCR wasn't so lucky there. Boyer loses his car, spins out. Harvick had just gotten the lead, had the best car by far on the long run, but because Boyer spins out, the caution comes out, they restack them, and Harvick's not able to get the victory. So, you know, that's a situation where you're like, oh man.
I wish my teammate wouldn't have spun out.
I wish you could have kept her going straight, teammate. But of course, Clint wished he could have kept going straight too.
Yeah.
And I believe the scenario for Clint is if Matt Kenseth just starts the race Saturday night, Clint's then eliminated. So tough break for him. Time now for the Geico greatest pit crew, and it goes to the 29 bunch for getting Harvick out first. But on the restart, Kane gets the lead with some help from David Rudiman, and Casey Kane pulls away. You see the 9 of Kane going by the 29 of Harvick.
Yeah, Casey had said in his interview that David gave him a push to get started, and that push got him up there where he could get a hold of Harvick and get the win. But then when he got the win in those final 10 laps, he drove away. So
I was thinking about giving Mark Martin a push.
You said he spun, huh?
Yeah, he spun in our lane. He spun this way, and normally it's like, oh, you get it back. Well, he spun that way and then that way, and I'm like, are you gonna go? There's like people going by us on both sides. I'm like, oh man.
Poor Greg.
Yeah. Dang it.
All right, when we come back.
Rookies, they make mistakes.
That's right. One of the fastest drivers in the Cup race, and Atlanta dominated the Nationwide race. Truck and Nationwide highlights coming up. NASCAR's thinking about a change to the engines. We'll find out if the guys think that's the right way to go. Stay with us.
The Smart Over the Race has been presented by Castrol Edge. Think with your dipstick. Upgrade to new Castrol Edge Advanced Synthetic. Nothing offers better wear and protection. The Greatest Pit Crew has been presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
In February of 1995, Mike Skinner got the very first win in NASCAR Camping World Truck Series history. He's also the most recent winner. He won at Iowa the other night, his 27th career win.
Mike Skinner brings the field to the green flag. Crafton early on makes it 3 wide, takes the lead going through turns 1 and 2.
How about that? He wants to get 5 of those points back from that lead.
Battle for the lead. Matt Crafton trying to hold up the 5 of Mike Skinner. And Mike Skinner is now your leader at Iowa Speedway.
Oh, contact.
Little contact there, Stacy Compton. We see the 24. David Starr up into the wall. Caution comes out once again. Mike Skinner coming out of turn number 4. He will win the first ever race at Iowa Speedway.
It was a fun race to watch, and it was also cool to see Skinner get up on it and go like he did on Saturday night. Racetracks need fans. The Iowa Speedway has fans. There's just tons of people that come there just because they love their track. It's in their backyard. It's part of them. The Kentucky Speedway the same way. The Bristol Motor Speedway the same way. So I love the Iowa track. I love the action I saw there, and I'm happy Skinner got him a W.
Very first winner in Camping World Truck Series history.
That's pretty cool.
Well, the Camping World Truck Series back in action this weekend, Saturday at 2 o'clock. Johnny Benson filling in for Michael Waltrip.
Man, it was good to see Johnny back.
JB.
Wasn't it?
It was.
It was. Well, the NASCAR Nationwide Series teams racing at the Atlanta Motor Speedway on Saturday night. Kevin Harvick, K-Harv, gets career victory number 34.
I've just never seen, I haven't seen a car in a while that's had this clear cut of advantage over the field.
Well, he's got, Kyle Busch is just under 3 seconds back, but the third place car is 20 seconds back now.
Remember, they've been slower than the 18 team on the right side. Let's see if they can pick it up and clear it up for a couple of seconds to make ground on that 18. Problems again, they were a little slow. Now they're trying. The car dropped off the jack. They had to rejack it, put the left sides on. Oh boy, guys, this could have just cost 33 the win here.
This is the 18 car now coming by the start-finish line. Can Kevin Harvick get out in front of Kyle Busch?
Yeah, he's in good shape, guys. Harvick's got to speed up right now over Busch. I believe he's going to hold him off. Take a look at that.
Of course, yeah, they're not the leaders right now. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is now the leader of the race. Brad Keselowski in second.
They asked him to save fuel like you were running Michigan. Who knows?
Why not go for it?
for it. He's not. I mean, if he runs out of gas on the last lap or 2 to go, well, what's he going to finish? 6th?
Here's the battle for the lead, but it's not going to be much of a fight.
There was no race there. Kevin Harvick so much stronger than Dale Earnhardt Jr. He's going to get past.
Kevin Harvick will drive to victory tonight here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway as he'll take the checkered flag.
Kyle was a little bit better on the short runs there, but after about 8 or 10 laps, this thing was just flat out awesome. Same way our truck was, same stuff underneath it, so just cut it a little bit closer than I would like to there at the end.
Well, I think everybody that saw that agrees that Kevin Harvick, those guys found something out. You know, he ran right down that low line. Michael and I were talking about it. You get a guy, you get your tire down on that white line. A lot of times your car will spin out. My car would, but Kevin had his car adjusted. You saw him do the same thing on Sunday night a little bit, but he kind of fell off. But just a dominant performance all night. It's pretty neat.
Well, you know, on Saturday alone, we were on the air for 7.5 consecutive hours. There was a lot going on at the track and here on Speed. Here's In Focus.
Night racing at Atlanta Motor Speedway on Labor Day weekend. That's the night when the lights went on in Georgia.
Now it's 3 wide.
Yeah, this is just for walking around.
Spence, what we're going to show the people is how we drive a NASCAR car. We use the ankle.
Gas pedal.
Joe up in turn 4.
Clint Boyer missed. Joey Logano.
Oh, now my legs are real white.
Casey Kane will secure his 2nd win at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
You got to check out NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot this Saturday prior to the big race at Richmond International. That begins at 5 Eastern here on Speed. When we come back, a Richmond preview. Richmond is famous for side-by-side racing. We'll break it down. Plus, several bubble drivers need good runs this week. Kyle Busch will take a repeat of the spring race at Richmond. Thank you very much. Stick around. You're watching This Week in NASCAR. This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico.
15 minutes will save you 15%.
You're on it. Well, the Richmond International Raceway opened in 1953. Lee Petty won the very first race there. Now, the list of drivers who won their first career races there is impressive and interesting at the same time. James Harvey Hilton won there in 1970. One of my favorite racers of all time, Neil Bonnet, got his first win in 1977.
Welcome back to Richmond International Raceway. What is always a very exciting and interesting race.
Green flag.
And the green is out.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Kyle Petty goes up on the board. There's going to be some tempers after this one. Coming down, Harold Kinder, flag in hand. Checkers are down. Kyle Petty has won it. His first Winston Cup victory coming on the track where his dad dominated for so many years.
I don't think I've got any feeling in my body yet. You know, we're tickled to death to win it. You know, no matter how you win it, whether you fall into it like we did today or whether you go out and blow the doors off, you know, it's a good feeling.
And Tony Stewart gets the white flag. One more lap to go. Here comes Tony Stewart off the corner. And in his 25th NASCAR Winston Cup race, Tony Stewart wins at Richmond International Raceway. Becomes the first rookie in Winston Cup racing to win since Davey Allison at Dover.
25-year-old Casey Kane has never won an Nextel Cup race. He's come close. 6 times she's finished second. Casey Kane comes out turn number 4, sees the white flag. Can he keep it between the walls? One more lap and go to victory lane for the first time in his Nextel Cup career. Wide open and on his way is Casey Kane. And his 47th NASCAR Nextel Cup Series start. Finally, Casey Kane is going to Gatorade victory lane. He gets the victory in the Chevy American Revolution 400.
I don't know what to say. Everybody on this team does such an unbelievable job, and it's great to finally win a race.
I was in that race that Kyle Petty won back in 1986. It was my first trip to Richmond. Then I also watched them expand that facility, and now the guys that have been able to get their first wins there, Tony and Casey, it's just a great racetrack. And like I said earlier, racetracks need fans. This racetrack, the people love it. People in that area just love coming there. It's been sold out forever, and it's a great racetrack.
Greg, that place, when Michael raced there, it was a flat half-mile track, and now it's a 3/4 mile track. I have never heard a single driver say they don't love Richmond. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great racetrack. I've won in the Craftsman Truck Series there, and I remember going up in the grandstands. I won in the Truck Series. I went up in the grandstands and watched a nationwide race in the grandstands there. It's a great racetrack to see this racing from.
And getting your first victory at a track that everybody loves so much, that means a lot, you know?
Speaking of Neil Bonnet, I remember walking out there with him, Michael. It had to be 87 because it became a 3/4-mile track in the fall of 1988. There were like 15, 16 cautions, and just coincidentally, I'm walking out with Neil Bonnet, and he looked at me and went, "That was a hell of a mess, wasn't it?" but whether it's a half mile or 3/4 mile, it's always been great racing there.
Yeah.
Michael, you always talk about drivers loving options. Does Richmond give you that same opportunity?
I mean, we've seen it forever. Back when they first, and it's a phenomenon. Sometimes when they pave a track, you got everybody's right on the bottom. When they first redid that place, we were right out next to the wall, and it's been the same way ever since. You'll see guys up literally scraping the wall in turn 4, and other guys right down digging on the bottom. And that's why people love it so much, because of those options that you have as a driver.
Well, up next, Casey Kane helped himself big time in Atlanta. We'll tell you which of the bubble guys are good at Richmond and which aren't. Plus, Dale Earnhardt did something very unusual at Richmond back in the 80s. We'll show you what it was. And that's not it. We'll be right back. There have been 46 different winners in 106 Richmond races. The King won 13 times at Richmond International. The most recent winner back in May, Kyle Busch.
Short track racing can produce some amazing results sometime. That's one of the reasons so many people come out to Richmond. Anybody really could win this thing. Free flag goes in the air, and we are underway.
Now Kyle Busch gets a shove from Brian Vickers.
Go tell NASCAR to take care of that before I do.
Here's Busch. He's shoving Vickers. Contact, and both of them go up the bank.
Never touched him, thank you.
Trouble right here on the front straightaway.
He turned Edwards around, and McMurray spins into his teammate.
And around goes Mark Martin. Mark Martin spins right in front of half the field. Everybody's getting physical at this point of the race at Richmond, and the battle for the lead is on. Kyle Busch is there. He'll complete the pass.
God, it's nice to have a motor like that.
Meanwhile, Kyle Busch is waving bye-bye to the field.
All right, man, here it is. White flag.
Never thought I'd hear you say such a sweet thing.
Fans on their feet watching Kyle Busch flash by them on his way to Gatorade Victory Lane.
You guys are awesome. Happy birthday, dude. That was freaking awesome.
Kyle Busch wins the Crown Royal 400 at Richmond on his birthday.
And you look at that and think about, you think anybody's safe in the chase. All kinds of action going on. And nothing against Kyle Busch, but I hope he doesn't do that again, because I'm racing him for that chase spot. It's just it's a great night. Crazy stuff's going to happen.
And you can see at that racetrack, it gets really crowded.
Yes.
3/4 of a mile, there's 43 cars that are competitive that are going to be arguing over space. So you could easily be a guy that could win the race and start 35th or 6th. So that means all that traffic, you got to get through it and you got to survive.
As if Greg wasn't distracted enough and we just ran that piece.
Yeah, watching Kyle win just doesn't help me sleep good at night.
Yeah. Let's take a look at our weekend promo to let you know what's headed your way. NASCAR Classics, noon on Thursday, followed by a Camping World Touring Series race. On Friday, we've got cup practice for you at noon. Brian Vickers joins us on trackside. That is Friday night. All right, as we talked about, Mr. Biffle,
there's the scenario.
There's the scenario. Now, the column in the middle, that's where the drivers finished there back in May. And then to the right, we mentioned Greg, if he finishes 11th or better, he clinches. If he leads a lap, you can finish 13th.
I like, I don't really like my odds, but the 11th looks pretty good. That's considering the other guy leads the most laps and wins. So any relief I get from that, gives me a little bit of wiggle room. So we'll just have to wait and see.
You can see Vickers and Kyle and Rudeman, they need help. I mean, they've got to have something happen for them to be able to squeak in. But Rudeman's pretty much out. But when we leave Richmond, then everybody's focus that didn't make the top 12 will be trying to get 13th in the points, and that'll become that team's goal.
Greg, we look at those numbers. When you go into the race Saturday night, will your team have discussed all the different scenarios? Or, I mean, how do you approach it?
Well, really, we probably won't discuss all the different scenarios. Probably what we'll end up doing is, looking at where the other guys are running, and we're just going to run our race. We're going to run as good as we can, just do the normal thing. Because anytime you try and get off sequence of what you normally do, what happens is you make a mistake or something doesn't go right. So we're just going to run our race, run as good as we can. Obviously, if the 18 falls out or the 83 has trouble, we might relax a little bit and just kind of protect. But, we're just going to run a normal race.
I bet you his crew chief will have every scenario possible in his,
yes.
his notebook.
Greg Irwin will, yes.
And Greg, you just go race, and I'll tell you we will tell you what's got to happen.
Remember, was it last year you said there's going to be a little guy that taps Chad Canals on the shoulder? Yeah. You'll have one of those.
I remember that dude. He was Kazoo, right?
Kazoo, yeah. Hey, there's wacky things have happened at Richmond over the years, and Michael saw this. I saw this. We want to show you what Dale Earnhardt did back in 1986.
There was grass around the infield, and it was all wet and muddy, and somebody ran through it and got his windshield dirty. My favorite part was what Dick Beatty said from the tire. He said, would somebody tell the driver at 3 to get back in his car? But how cool is that? That's how that man raced his car. Whatever it took, he could do it.
Now, you guys were telling me at break that he got out or wiped his window off. I thought he was stopped. I didn't realize he was going down the racetrack under caution.
I remember one day at Dover, the coolest thing ever. He came by me like this, leading the race, driving with one hand.
He used to do it at Martinsville.
I couldn't believe it. I'm driving with both hands and everything I got, and he's lapping me, leading the race, driving one-handed.
Biggie used to do it at Martinsville. I'd stand on top, turns 1 and 2, and you'd see him just, whoa.
How crazy is that?
I can't get around there with 2 hands, let alone just one.
All right, when Twin returns, we'll have our Hot Lap segment. We have an idea to spice up the chase that rewards race winners. We'll see what our panel thinks. Plus, do you know who was the first driver to use radios during the race? We'll fill you in when we answer viewer emails next. This Week in NASCAR is brought to you by Geico. A few weeks ago, we rolled out a new segment called Hot Laps, where we put questions to the panel. Michael seemed to like it, so we built a fancy new animation right there. There it is. All right, these guys don't know the questions. They're both going to address these. Michael, should drivers who win multiple races be automatically given a chase berth?
No, I don't think so. I think you have to race every week. You got to be consistent. You got to be a team. You got to be a team that comes out and contends every week to win, and that's how you get in the chase. So I'd say no.
All right, Greg, same question to you. Mark Martin, Kyle Busch, both winners of 4 races. Should they get automatic berths?
No, I don't think so. Same with Michael. This sport's about consistency, and that's why a point system's created. You have to reward somebody from showing up every week. Per se, if they won 6 times, they wouldn't have to show up the rest of the season until the chase. That certainly wouldn't be fair for the team and everybody else. So they have to accumulate the points to get in.
All right, second question. We'll start with Greg. Do Sprint Cup Series race cars, do they need speedometers?
I don't think so, because we technically have a speedometer that's on the dashboard. It's a tachometer. It's connected to the engine, which connects to the drivetrain. It's the same as how a speedometer works. Actually,
keep going. It's connected to the wheels. It's
connected to the wheels. It turns down. You could technically put mile per hour on there instead of RPM if you want it.
Michael?
It's technology. We don't even follow the pace car that close anymore. The engineers tell us how many RPM to put up there. Like he said, it doesn't matter what it's, if it's 4,000 or 442 miles an hour, it's the same. So no, because our engineers science out exactly what speed we need to go. Not only that, we have these lights that you heard Juan Pablo talking about at Indy that come on. Green, you're good. Red, you're not so good. So you just have to
keep in mind, you have the speedometer in your car. We're trying to go half mile per hour. We're trying to go 49 and a half and not go 50. So, a regular car speedometer, that's kind of difficult with everything going on in pit road.
Just think if it was perfect and it said 50 and you were going 50.2. In our world, you would get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
In the regular world, you wouldn't. So we understand the rules and we know how to play by them.
All right, Michael, you go first for this final question. We've heard rumors of fuel injection. Should NASCAR go to fuel-injected engines?
I don't see why not. It'd make them a little more efficient. and also to give the teams an area to learn and work and make our cars more relevant to what's driving up and down the road today. So I don't have a problem with fuel injection. I would like to see them rob some power out of them, and when they go to fuel injection, they could take power away from the cars as well.
Greg, you think they'll go to fuel injection, and should they?
I think they definitely should go to fuel injection with the technology today. You know, they could restrict the bore size on the butterflies and be much more efficient. You know, the cars would get a lot better fuel mileage, which I don't know if that'll help or hurt. They could make the fuel cell smaller. And I agree with Michael. They need to cut a little bit of power out, but not a lot, to give the guys, room to grow.
You guys did an excellent job.
Well,
you were not given these questions ahead of time.
Yeah, y'all didn't let us rehearse.
No,
that's something.
That's the whole point.
We get here a couple hours.
We agreed on every one of them.
You did.
Yeah.
And you're
Which
a liar.
we didn't last time.
I'm not going to say when Michael gets here, but at least he's on time. Time for the Z-Max Fuel for Thought email segment. Mr. Waltrip, who was the first driver to use radios in NASCAR? Hey, look, that comes from the actor Matthew Modine.
Nice. And he's from Colorado. I'm going to say, and I would have guessed this eventually if someone hadn't told me, Bobby Allison. Bobby was an innovator. He always had something cutting edge on his cars. He was an airplane guy, loved flying, and he said, well, if I can talk to the ground in my airplane, surely I could talk to my crew on a radio, and so Bobby Allison gets credit for that, in my opinion. I don't know if that's documented for sure truth, but I'm pretty sure that I would go with Bobby Allison. Final answer.
Well, I'm pretty sure that wasn't Matthew Modine, the actor that wrote, but it sounded good. All right, Greg Biffle, what is the purpose of the item sitting on the hood of the car near the windshield?
Well, what that is that's where the air intake for the engine is. And during qualifying, we like to keep that sealed up. And guys are clustered, they're nervous that something's going to get down in the engine prior to qualifying, so they put stuff on there, and then they put all these, that's how they used to do it, they tape it off, but that got forgotten about 2 or 3 times when guys tried to qualify, so now they have stuff on there with big stuffed animals or the sponsor or Ford or whatever, so that you don't forget to take that thing off.
All right, Greg's going to handle our third question. Finally, what parts do the automakers actually supply, Greg?
Well, it's kind of a combination between the team and the manufacturer. Like they provide the blocks and the cylinder heads for the engine, but it's a cooperative effort, and they provide a lot of engineering and things like that. So technically, nothing off of a regular car that's on the showroom floor, but at the same time, that we trade technologies back and forth.
Yeah, when I have Toyota on my car, he has Ford on his, that means that Toyota supports my car. They help me understand how to race that car better. Ford helps him. That's the biggest deal.
All right. Hey, you want Casey Kane's picture in the Picture of the Week giveaway from Atlanta?
I do.
Michael, go to speedtv.com, then click the show's tab at the top. Go to the This Week in NASCAR page. You'll see a link. Put 9 in the subject line, and you're entered to win. Put your shipping address in the email.
This Week in NASCAR is presented by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Following This Week in NASCAR is Pinkst, and that is a shot of Greg Biffle's hot rod. You did it back in May.
Yeah, I came home from Talladega, and I wasn't able to participate in the whole show, and so we did a little exhibition run, and that's a great show. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's no production. It's exactly, guys bring their cars out and race them just like that for $10,000, and I got a 07 Shelby GT Mustang. I've changed the blower and done a bunch of things to it.
Ooh, it got a little loose on you.
Yeah, it's tough on the top end there. I don't know why.
Pretty impressive, though, you took out that Ford Fairmont.
Yeah, a little squirrely on the top end, but we'll see.
Then he over-revved the engine.
Yeah, I did that in the Pastime show.
Oh, yeah, Pastime. By the way, This Week in NASCAR next week, well, Michael's going to, can I say where you're going?
Yeah.
He's going to Italy, Biff, to test drive a Ferrari. So guess who's going to be here? Mr. Excitement.
Oh, no.
Jimmy Spencer with Chad Canals. That ought to be interesting.
I'm going to tune in for that one.
Hey, by the way, Greg, I want you to know, I am nervous for you. I was not making light of you. Michael, can't you just feel
Yeah. And
I'm nervous for you, buddy.
I am too.
this could be one of the most important races of your whole life.
Yes, it is.
It is because it's the next one.
Yeah, but even more so because when it's over, it will be or won't be.
Yep. Give me an opportunity to make the chase right now, right in front of me.
It's sitting right there. The tee is on the ball.
Low-hanging fruit.
It's there. Just pick it.
Good luck, Greg Biffle.
Thank you.
Noon on Friday, join us here on Speed from Richmond.